Okay, admit, I'm not a big fan of people reading on BookTube. April is Poetry Month, and I'm always reminded of that fact when an email arrives in my inbox in the first of the month from Knopf and their poem A Day. I'm not really great at poetry, but I love reading it. It sort of recalibrates my reading style. Normally I'm a big consumer. I read books the same way I eat noodles, with like relish, reckless abandon, and gusto. Reading just has a smaller splash zone. No one calls a poetry anthology a page turner, and you're forced to read a little slower, to consider every word. And I think that's really powerful. I've been determined to read a lot more contemporary poetry this year. I just don't know really what I'm doing, so I just dive in and hope for the best. I picked up Michael Robbins' Alien vs. Predator, and it's more akin to abstract painting. I can recognize colors and brushstrokes, but I'm not exactly sure if it's art, or if it's not something that a 12-year-old could actually do. It's a Paul's Boutique of words, riffing on cultural cues and Western ideas, dropping Guns N' Roses with Fleetwood Mac and the Eagles, along with T.S. Eliot. These are all things that are just sort of programmed into our mental landscape. An example is a Michael Robbins poem called Dig Dug. In the United Arab States, Muslims are elected wearing roller skates. Erectile dysfunction in the nation's pets? It's just the sort of grievance we petition to address. I give my skinny prick a shake to ask if there is some mistake. Hold me closer, tiny reindeer. They saw Oliver Stone distribute juice boxes. He counts the headlights on the highway, 1 if by reptile, 2 if by foxes. Slash is both sad and happy for Axel. The nation's pets are high in Paxil. Memory is the bended grass or deer of lane. It's hard to hold a candle to the cold November rain. As strange as that may be, what's interesting is how it recalibrates my reading. I find myself paying more attention to words and considering them more carefully after reading those poems. It's like this caffeinated after effect of reading his works. Alright, a bit of a tangent. This reminded me a lot of a great book from 2013 called Lexicon by Max Berry. In it, we have individuals who can use words to hack the linguistic centers of the brain and access our human operating system, making us compliant and ripe for coercion. These people are called poets, and they're trained in word voodoo and this secret Hogwarts for language. So, of course, one of the poets have gone rogue and is set on destroying the planet and taking all the power for himself, and it's up to the rest of the characters to make sure that doesn't happen. Anyway, it's a fantastic read and a lot of fun. I also picked up some prose poetry in the form of Claudine Rankin's book Citizen. This is a lot easier to understand, and it's a lot more closer to reading traditional prose. Rankin talks about these moments that disrupt interactions, these tiny microaggressions that culminate over time and create an environment where you have Ferguson and Eric Garner and Trayvon Martin. I love the fact that the first half of this is really sort of a poetic smackdown. A former colleague had written a poem about Venus Williams that was marginally racist, and he had completely tried to dismiss the entire thing. Claudine Rankin was having none of that. And the first part of Citizen explores that idea of Venus Williams and the racism that she's encountered in this mostly white sport. Finally, let us not forget that we are all of us poets, and it's actually fairly straightforward. If you have a Twitter account, there's a great website called PoTweet, wherein you put in your Twitter handle, and an algorithm actually spits back a poem using all your individual tweets. It's actually pretty cool. Here's one that PoTweet actually pushed back for me for my Twitter feed, called Deep Fried. Tequila, then some pig-faced tacos. Sampler, and now I'm diabetic. Company to my list. Any recos? She's not being euphemistic. Always looking for great stories. To Sleep, coming out this September. Point, as far as superhero movies, what day it is and still sober. Do sipping some spirits soon. Experience? It's been so long. His first child this afternoon. Brings me back. Love that song. It's Deathlock meets Sailor Moon. Alright, so it's not going to win any prizes, but not bad for an algorithm. You should give it a shot yourself. So are you guys actually observing Poetry Month? Are you guys reading any poetry? Got any recommendations for me? I'm fairly well versed as far as the Frost and the Wordsworth and the Blake and the rest. And I really do enjoy them, but I'm looking for poems that have been written in the last decade. I know I have to pick up some Mary Oliver. That's on my list. But if there's any other recommendations, let me know.